What's going on, my future friends who are listening to this in the future? Today we got a happy hour from the AIRDROP crew where we just talk about these bear markets. For some of us, this is our first time going through a bear market. What does that mean for our JPEGs? What does that mean for our assets, our crypto? How do we do this? A lot of people have lost a lot of money. So we're going to ask the people who have been through it a couple more times, what's it mean? So enjoy. This is our happy hour.
So something to keep in mind is, in crypto, you can look back in the charts and see all this play out. This will not be quick. You do not need to rush to catch a bottom. This is going to be weeks, months. We're going to be sitting in this range for a while. And so with all of the new leverage that gets opened up at these lows, the market makers are going to clear that out before we move up. So, keep an eye on some of those indicators that I mentioned, and then keep an eye on how low some of these candles get, how our low prices. Specifically, the weekly is where I'm kind of looking right now. When you're in these downturns, you definitely want to zoom out, or else you'll get sucked into quite a few traps. So I would check out the weekly, take notice of where these weeks, the low prices of these weeks, because chances are those numbers will be hit again. So that's kind of my approach right now.
Okay. This is like the first time I've been through this. And for me, it's like panic, is everyone getting rugged right now? Is the whole thing falling apart? And from what I'm reading from people who've been around for a minute, it's like, no, everyone calm down. It's going to be fine. It'll go back up. It's a great time to buy. And I'm like, okay, it still freaks me out though, So I don't even know if I have a question in there. It's like, what do I do? What do you?
That resonates with me too. And the scary thing from like a regulatory perspective is Luna getting crushed, making like regulators feel like they can overregulate and do some damage. Like, I'm just afraid that they won't be educated enough to make the right kind of legislation, and that they'll like cause more harm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's tell me more about that. What's the Luna thing? I know Foss was reading up on it today. I got nothing. I don't know what that's all about.
Let me walk through this whole situation. So there's been a lot of stuff thrown out there. There was a big rumor about Citadel and BlackRock. That is very, very unlikely that Citadel and BlackRock are behind this. Those type of institutions are not liquid enough to pull out 100 billion or whatever it was in Bitcoin, or even 1 billion in Bitcoin. They are constantly invested, and they're plenty happy taking that 3 to 5% clip on low volatility stuff. So I think it's very unlikely that Citadel and BlackRock were behind this, but it was definitely an attack. So I think just to kind of paint the picture. So Luna and UST, as everyone probably knows right now, UST counted on Luna to support the peg. And as the price went up, that was great. You could still redeem UST $1 of UST for $1 of Luna. That wasn't an issue. As the attack started, and Luna dropped in value as the supply came up, it was just a cascading effect from there. So the mechanism worked exactly as it should have, but these attackers caught it at a very specific point. So UST, USDC, USDT, and Frax were launching. It was called Fourpool. It was launching on Curve. Whatever day this was, this attack happened. So Terra, they pull, I think, like $350 million of UST liquidity from Curve to put in Fourpool. So now there's no UST liquidity on Curve. That is when the attackers came in and sold all their BTC, or I'm sorry, their UST for BTC. So essentially what they did was they took $1 billion. They make an a deal with Duquan to get a discount on UST. They say they don't want to move the market, which is understandable. So they get this discount. And then once they do that, they then flip that 1 billion, they leverage it and grab 3 billion of Bitcoin. So now they are they have this leverage position of UST that doesn't really matter what happens to it. That's not the goal here. And now they have all this Bitcoin, and they are effectively making profits the entire way down, as Luna needs to sell their reserves to prop up the peg as much as possible. So it was just this like big, long cascading effect, where the mechanism was actually its downfall. It actually led to the spiral, and as the price of Luna goes lower, the cost to repeg is higher. It takes more Luna to do that, and so you have 40 billion of Luna wiped out. I think at the peak there was like 24 billion in Anchor. But this is a really big deal. It's not just you'll hear a lot of comparisons to BitConnect. This is retail. This is hedge funds, VCs, institutions, centralized exchanges. All of these folks considered this, a pretty sure thing. But at the end of the day, there was far less collateral for the amount of UST that was printed. So they attacked it at the right time. As the FUD started spreading around, you had, retail selling UST. And then as Duquan started selling his reserves of BTC, that brought down BTC, which brought down the rest of the market. And now they buy back in lower. Don't worry about the rest of everything else that they've already invested. They cash out, they buy back lower, and they're up that entire difference from where they bought in. So it was a very smart. Duquan, he's obviously been very vocal, especially with upcoming plans that he has. This 4-pool, everyone was excited about it. Think about it, an LP farm on Curve, and whoever's not familiar with Curve. The way you make money on Curve is by transaction fees. So those get paid out to all the Curve stakers. So in times like this, where it's really volatile, that's where you make a lot of money on Curve. And so imagine you can throw stable coins into a vault. You don't see any of the volatility, but you get all those fees. Like, people were really, really excited about this LP. And so they were really vocal about it, and they knew exactly when it was happening, and they just executed it at the right time.
So what do you think that means for this argument of, decentralized, like a dollar peg, something that's decentralized or algorithmic? Like, if it's algorithmic, is it going to be possible to make something that can't be gamed like this?
I don't know if that's possible, because I think the whole point of a stable coin, you're pegging crypto to a different type of currency. The only reason the dollar has relevance in crypto is because that's how we price things. That's how we price our crypto.
Right.
But now with stable coins, we try to bring the dollar in without the system behind it. And you think about the system that props up the dollar, there's a lot of money behind that, and taxes go into that, and it's not some protocol that can just be propped up by fees. So I don't know. I was really hoping, something like this would work. I really want it to work. But at the end of the day, if we're pegging something to a fiat currency, it just has to be collateralized with that fiat. And I think that's the regulation we're going to see. I don't know if you'll see something like this. Frax is really interesting. Frax has 85% fiat, is 85% fiat collateralized, 15% crypto collateralized. So like that's another option where it's easier to keep the peg. But USDC, I mean, you can say what you want about this decentralization, and I've said my piece in the past. But this has kind of cleared things up that, the best strategy is one in, one out.
I can follow that.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean one in, one out? Sorry.
I mean, that's essentially USDC. If you're buying USDC, that dollar is now collateralized. So it's essentially one in, one out.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Because I think Luna tanking like this, and what sucks is for all the people that were betting heavy on it, putting their life savings into it, and it crashes. That's not fun for anybody.
Yeah, that's really rough.
It's really, really, really rough.
Yeah,
what do you guys think about? Oh, sorry to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say it's been unfortunate this week to see so many people, dancing on graves and happy, about what was going on. I saw some things in our community as well, although it wasn't as prevalent as what you see from some ETH maxis or Bitcoin maxis. But I think that's a really good point, Longstreet. That there's a lot of people involved in this, and I think 10 people, close to 10 people, have now killed themselves over this, and countless other people have lost everything. So I think it's just something to keep in mind, as this kind of, you never know who's going to be involved. You never know who you're talking to that was part of this.
Now, do you think this event is related to what's happening with the bear market as everything is going down? You see this thing kind of collapse, which then erodes faith in the system, which causes more things to fall. Is this a trickle down effect of how some things like this are happening? I mean, we're in a bear now, so we're going to see a lot of the speculators or the people just trying to get rich quick leave because it's not there anymore. Do you think this is kind of like started the bear market? I don't know. We're here. I just don't know what to do except build.
Yeah.
Do what I've been doing.
Well, I think there's a lot of different things that you need to consider. Crypto is. I mentioned this I think yesterday. Crypto is on a different spectrum of risk than equities. Crypto doesn't determine what the crypto market does, and equities don't. They don't determine what the equities market does. So you've got this. You kind of have to understand what's going on with commodities, with currencies, the equities market. All of that stuff gives you more insight into what's going to happen in crypto, which will eventually give you more insight into what's happening to your JPEGs. I think if you look at, if you look at maybe the SPY, which is the barometer for equities, I think there's a lot of room to go. We've seen a lot of these growth stocks just die, looking worse than some of our shit coins. But I think we've got a lot further to go. I'm really eyeing like the 320 to 350 area. So that's not going to happen tomorrow. That's a few months of downside, and then there's sideways before you go up. So
320 to 350. What are you referencing?
I'm looking at the SPY.
Okay, because it currently is where?
I'm sorry.
Where is it right now?
Right now it's at 397. So at its peak, it was at 479. So that was on January 3rd. So now we are, I don't know, what was that, 20% down or close to that. So that's something to keep in mind. The crypto market is influenced by the equities market, but I'll come back to how this kind of played out in 2020. But I would also look at the DXY, which is the dollar index. So if you look at the dollar index on the weekly, it is very clearly wanting to go higher. So what that means is the dollar is more valuable, equities are less valuable, crypto is even less valuable. So you have to kind of consider all of these things as you're like making your purchases, if you are trying to be more strategic about your buys. But those are the things I would look at. And then, from a commodity standpoint, it's always good to keep in mind what gold's doing, what copper's doing. Gold, it's kind of tough to say I don't really have an opinion on what it's about to do. But all of those things influence the crypto markets. So as you kind of get further out on the risk curve, with JPEGs being the furthest out, those are the first things to be liquidated when times are bad. So that's why you see prices of, Azuki rightfully is down, but that's why you see these prices dropping. I think someone bought a Bored Ape yesterday, a really rare one, for under 100 ETH, and then immediately flipped it for like 150 ETH, because people are just trying to liquidate, and they'll go furthest out on the risk curve first, and then they'll come back. And so how this played out in 2020 was crypto actually led equities out of that downturn. They performed better than equities. And so that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if that's going to happen this time, but when prices are low, people are more willing to go further out on the risk curve, if that makes sense.
I think so. I'm still trying to process a lot of what you said.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
You said a lot of things. Honestly, I am curious to hear what Obsidian has to do. We just invited him up on this. What Obsidian has to say. We just invited him up on the stage. So, you got any thoughts? Obsidian?
Yeah, catch me up. I mean, I jumped into the conversation like midway through, so I heard kind of macro market info. What was the original question?
Yeah. Where are we at? We're just talking about basically, now that we're in a bear market, how's this affecting us as we move forward? And now that are we at a bottom? Is it going to get worse before it gets better? Pryzm was just saying how, like, when markets hit like this, the first thing to go would be your JPEGs and then the crypto. Like, as things get worse, we'll just sell off those items. But people are projecting a recession coming. Like, I guess the question is, what are we doing? How do we best, go through this? And I know the right answer is just keep doing what you're doing with conviction. I mean, if you believe in Doge to the moon, like, obviously keep buying that. But like, yeah, don't try to like speculate. But what are your thoughts on now? How?
Yeah,
I guess what's happening.
well, I mean, of course, like, as a business, it affects us quite a bit. I mean, not financial advice, so, all the normal disclaimers, do your own research, not financial advice. I mean, the way I think about it, honestly, I'm pretty excited about where the market's at. That's a weird take, and if there's some like biases here, I mean, if you came in later, you probably got murdered, right? But when you look at, I mean, just investing in general or buying assets, like, you have to expect your asset over its lifetime to dip 60 to 80% over some point of like that portfolio's lifespan. So we're in that dip right now. What's nice is, I think there's a couple of things happening in them. I mean, of course, interest rates are going up. So if you look at like late stage venture capital, like everybody, so more from a business startup standpoint, everybody who's in the later stages, so like Series A, Series B, C, D, or like preparing to go IPO, if they have to raise a round within the next 6 to 8 months, they're probably going to get hit with like a 40% discount. So just kind of like the crazy high valuations that we were seeing in the startup market is just not there anymore. I mean, you're fine as long as you don't have to raise within the next 6 to 8 months. For Byzantium, it's pretty nice. And that, we've been lucky enough, especially with like the support of just the whole Stacks ecosystem. Like, we got profitable very, very quickly. We're around break even just as a company within just like our regular business without capital, outside capital. So for us, it's kind of like we just hunker down, we keep building for the next 6 to 8 months until the market turns back. As far as the JPEG market goes, I mean, art is going to get hit. It's just kind of like what everybody was saying. Like, I hope you bought art you really enjoyed, right? So you don't freak out on the way down, and then you enjoy it. And then the best projects are going to be the ones that make it through this. And the projects who didn't have solid roadmaps and didn't have solid teams, they're going to get wiped out. And but overall, I think it's a good learning opportunity for just everyone in the space where all the rules of business still apply. And this is a pretty stark reminder of it. The whole thing that's going on with Luna. I mean, these are a lot of words. This is just my personal viewpoint and biases. But, I think what we saw with Luna, what we saw was smart money from Wall Street came in, right? And they've seen all these plays before. So that I think that's a good signal and a bad signal. If you're in a asset that has very strong Ponzi-nomics that keeps it afloat, those things are going to get killed at some point, right? And that's kind of anybody who's speculating on those, that's the game they're playing, is that there's going to be another buyer that comes in after them. And, eventually the music stops and everybody's got to find a seat. So I think that's what happened there.
Yeah.
Play there was a pretty standard, like old school finance play. I mean, George Soros did the same thing on silver. If you haven't, I really encourage you to read up on just everything that happened with Luna, because it's pretty fascinating. I mean, that will be a historical moment with what they did, and it's smart money coming in from Wall Street who's seen these games played before, and they play it at a much higher level. So it's very bad for everybody who's involved in that. The nice thing, though, is the institutions are moving, or I mean, good and bad, but much larger players are moving into the spaces, which is going to just raise the bar for everybody. And I think for end consumers in the long run, we're going to see much better financial products afterwards. So it's kind of it's like with any system, you need failures to happen. Everybody learns from those failures and the whole system gets better over time. That's kind of the key to an anti-fragile system, which is what a lot of these decentralized networks are. So that was a lot of words. I wasn't not super prepared, but that's the way I view it. If long term, still very bullish on Web3. All of Web2 is going to get rebuilt. I'm a strong believer in DeFi, and you just have to have some of these moments in history where kind of the poor protocols get wiped out so that everybody can learn from it.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and
sorry, go
I'd
ahead.
like to add on to that, Obsidian. You mentioned the good projects are going to survive, the bad roadmaps are going to die. That's that. This is a great time to fully understand what you're invested in. If it's JPEGs, floor price doesn't matter. It's sales price. Check out what your JPEGs are selling at. Are they continually going down? Are sellers fighting over each other to get rid of them? Are you hearing from your teams? Are any of them set up in a way where one thing supports the other, and if one dies, they both die? And that goes for the crypto you hold too. If you're holding a coin, take $100, go out and try the chain. Try doing a couple swaps, deposit into an LP. You'll quickly see the good and bad differences between these chains, and you'll feel more or less confident in your investment. But if you're going to be in this space and your plan is to DCA and you're going to be here long term, and you have the long term mindset and don't really care about the prices today, you want to at least have that confidence. So when they do come down to these levels, you're not the one selling to that person who is buying for the long term.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, at the end of the day, I think there's Longstreet was on Twitter Spaces the other day. I think there's art, and art is a utility in and of itself, and then there's projects, and everybody's got to look at those like businesses, and just basic rules of business. So art is its own thing, and I think you buy that because you appreciate it, and that's what kind of keeps you through. You want to support the artists, etc. And then there's businesses, and so you're buying NFT tokens that are, you believe in a project, and they have a roadmap, and they're going to produce some type of product. You can't break the rules of business, right? So there has to be cash flows for that NFT project outside of more investors coming in afterwards. And if it doesn't have a way to cash flow, then you're kind of in trouble at some point, because the music kind of does stop. And so I think I'm really excited. I hope this ushers in kind of the new wave of NFTs where hope the art market stay very strong and the creator economy stay very strong. And then I hope we start to see access tokens and kind of different forms of what an NFT can be on top of that protocol. So, anyways, I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited now. I mean, for us as Byzantium, the next 6 to 8 months is just like managing cash flows very well. Plutus just dropped in. But, for us, it's just we have to manage cash flows and kind of make it out of this cycle. And then I think we'll be a lot stronger for it.
Gotcha. I wanted to
But we're
ask.
in a different place than a lot of people on this call, right? So I understand
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Which is, I wanted to ask, anyone on stage or anyone that has a good answer for this, even in the audience, can just ask to speak if you think you have a good answer. But what does this mean for the artists, right? The one of one, the like fine art people in the space. Like for me, I'm about to get started on a couple different things, and that's part of what we're talking about here today on this happy hour is, like I'm starting with like putting my art out more publicly and minting and doing that kind of stuff. What does that mean for someone in my situation? Like someone who's not like a huge artist, not an X copy, but they're getting started, or they just have been getting started putting their art out there. What do you think this whole situation with the market means for them?
Bring him up.
I would
His hands up.
bring Dr.
His hands
Sus
up.
up. Yeah. Dr. Sus, bring him up.
What I will say
Sus.
is throughout that whole bull market, like Snoop Dogg wasn't market buying 100 ETH to buy, a Marcus Magnuson NFT, right? Like those were profits. These big NFT players are putting profits in one of ones. Art is the most valuable type of NFT.
Okay. That's good to hear. That sounds encouraging, Sus, what do you think?
He's on the fiat mine. He's getting his off his shift from McDonald's. Let's see if he unmutes.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop.
Don't stop, Sus. Please don't stop.
Yeah, you're cutting out, but I feel the power in what you're saying in the
Hold
little
on, wait.
glitches.
Give me a second. I'm almost to the top of this parking garage.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Because I do think art will, like, if you bought art because you liked it, who cares what the price is? Right?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
and you could pay something for it now, and just when the market goes back up, it will just be more valuable, question mark? How does that work? Am I not understanding that piece of it?
I think it's like you can create art now, but as you build reputation and Dr. Suss is currently doing this and building reputation, his pieces become more valuable no matter what the market is set at. Like, it could still be worth $500 US. We just peg it to stacks differently. Like that price will fluctuate in how much stacks it's worth versus how much. I don't know. That's Dr. Suss. Are you at the top yet?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me better now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Top of the parking garage versus middle of the parking garage, game changer. So yeah, I mean, look, like I was saying, I'm just getting started. I feel like I've made substantial progress, since meeting the boys in Miami, getting out there in person. I think, whether you do this doxed, totally anon or pseudo anon, kind of what I'm doing, being present in the community, different.
I think Dr. Suss's Android self has come out.
Yeah. We keep losing him. That's because he has good stuff to say too.
I know it's fire too. And
you know what? I'll just live until I have to leave, but just don't stop. That's all I gotta say.
Don't stop believing.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like asset prices are going to take a hit. So, I think any artist who's just getting started now, if they saw the headlines and they saw kind of the crazy volumes and prices right out of the gate, like that's gone, right? And it's going to be gone for a while, right? I would assume. But you know, if you take like the biggest artists of all time, right? They all had to start at some point, right? Beeple's been around for forever.
Yeah.
And really this year was his breakout year. You take Death Beef on Ethereum doing music NFTs. I mean, he had been in a garage in his basement for a decade as well. So I think as far as like picking a starting point, like there's no better time. The nice thing now is probably a lot of artists are going to get discouraged and they might not be shipping as much and they're going to be trying to time the market. And I think with all of this is, especially when you're producing creative work, it's just, ship as much as you can. Don't worry about price. You can't count the numbers or you'll lose patience, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Naval's got a really good quote on this where it's just like, you got to do the thing that you believe in. You can't count the money because if you do, you'll run out of patience before it hits. But like if you're producing good work over time, it will, and it doesn't really matter where you start. So it's kind of like always better, I would say, like start at the bottom, right? It would kind of suck if you got your first hit at the peak of the market and you don't see that again for another 12 months. But
Gosh, that would be so discouraging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I
So
think
go ahead.
I think there's a big opportunity on Stacks to stand out as an artist. So this is really a great time when there's a lot of speculation and more scrutiny on these projects that are launching during all of this, to stand out, to bring something to market that's different than what's out there. And I think, myself, I definitely looking for projects that are different than everything else that we continue to see launched on Stacks. So, I think the two of you, your art is amazing, and it's definitely different than anything else on Stacks. And I think you have a really good opportunity here. And Obsidian's absolutely right. I think it's you don't worry about making it rich off that first NFT. You get your name out there, you build a following like Dr. Suss has, and then you continue to expand on that and come up with new ideas and expand that following.
Yeah, and I mean that's what it should be about anyway, right? Like the dollar signs are so tempting and so inviting, right? But if you're making art for the dollar signs, that's a bit of a bit of a red flag, right? It's unsustainable at some point. If you're just making art to make money, that can get a little sketchy. And so yeah, that's a good thing to keep in mind.
At the same time, I think it's completely fine that artists produce art to make money, right? But they're providing a valuable resource to the economy, and they should be valued for that. I think the question is just like on what time horizon, right?
Yeah.
I would assume like if I was an artist, like I would love to be like as big as people. Just like as an entrepreneur, like I want to be as good as anybody in the valley. But it's time horizons and when you get started, that shouldn't really matter. So honestly, like I would tell like any art people, like anybody who's producing art, is like now is probably the best time to get in and get started, right? Because you got like nothing to lose. The markets are down. You can build a following. And then when the market comes back, you've got a good group that's already supporting you. When a lot of the other artists probably quit.
Right. Yeah. So it's a good time to like build community and build, brand awareness for your art business, and like I'm also totally here for artists making money. Obviously, I'm an artist and I'm not against making money. More thinking of like the thought that I was trying to get across is like focus on the art, make some stuff that you love, and connect with people. Do that part of the job, and worry less about the money right now because of where the market's at. Right?
Yeah, that's really resonating with me right now too, because there can be so much pressure otherwise, but there's such a learning curve to get into any of these spaces, right? And it really just does take some time and some experimentation. And it's better to not have to learn in public. It's good if you have the opportunity to learn, when there's less eyes on you and less pressure. Like you can make more mistakes, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's like we're big believers in that. That's why we made Create Every Day, the channel here on the Discord, just to have the space to do that. And it kind of seems like the whole ecosystem is turning into a space to do that, right?
Yeah, calling you
Yeah.
out, Dr. Sus, for making it exactly the same as Create Every Day in your Discord.
I wonder about it, right? I'm so excited we're in a bear market. Kudos to all of us saying that to try to trying to stay positive. But I wonder if it really is better, because the people that are sticking around and continuing to work, they're there for the intrinsic. These periods are necessary and even better in the long run.
I think it's also a good opportunity to a lot calmer than it was near the peak.
We got into Bitcoin, and so we basically bought near the top right, and then it just crashed, and we completely forgot about it. Especially when you listen to the Bitcoin maxi twist. Tragic as this week has been and discouraging,
pretty interesting. It was pretty amazing to where you can find your community at whatever level it is. You don't need 15 Bitcoin to have the right to get into a Twitter space, right? It's anybody can come hang out and you can kind of find your people, and a lot more people get involved. And so I do think that's kind of the value. What's interesting to me, even in a down market, is we're still all in a happy hour hanging out and talking. We didn't all just pack up and go home, and it's because we've actually built relationships.
Yeah.
100%.
You mentioned Longstreet. You mentioned being excited about Indigo and Nonish. So Megapont, obviously, Indigo held really stable in stacks terms. Nonish, we're not even minted out, but if something gets listed under our mint price, it gets scooped up really quickly. I think those are the signs of the projects that'll be here. So if your floor is dropping out, sometimes you have to make some tough decisions. If you don't believe in something anymore, the price going up might not change that, but it'll definitely make you feel worse if it goes down. So you just, these are times when you have to make some tough choices, but it'll really help you with, honing in on your convictions.
Yeah, I'm curious to see which projects are going to thrive through this period and end up on the other side, and which will go the space whales route.
Good old space whales. I mean, what's a market without a space whale story?
Truly.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to do a little hard subject change real quick because we got some other stuff to talk about before we wrap up. Pryzm, I wanted to talk a little bit about the greenery, and then we can get to the announcement we promised everybody. So you want to give us a little bit of a spiel on the greenery?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And we actually do have a couple of spots that are open. I think we have one right now.
Sweet.
But the greenery is, I'm setting up this community to really focus on those who are active investors who want a place to talk about more than just the project of the Discord that they're in. Something came to light around mints earlier this year, where in Nonish we have this inner circle channel where all of our shafts of light holders get access to this channel. So it's sort of like a whale channel or something like that. And a mint was coming up, and there were probably around 8 to 10 people talking about this mint and what they were going to do with the strategy, and when they were going to sell, what price they were going to try to get. And so I started having some conversations outside of that with these folks. I know Stacks isn't to the level of some of these other chains as far as user base, but there is still a small need for a community that is completely separate from all of these projects, where you can come in, talk about the market, talk about your mint strategies or trading strategies, share information. That's what I'm building with the greenery. So we're capping this at 69 people. We are at 68 right now. So we do have one more spot for now. And we're currently in the process of filtering out that group, for lack of a better word. We want to make sure that we're building this community around those who really see value in the community, who are going to be here through this bear, who want to contribute and build relationships across the community. So it's completely fine if some of those in there don't want to do that. Happy to leave and bring in others who are wanting to do that. But that's essentially what we're trying to build. And now with AIRDROP, I'm not going to steal your thunder. I'll let you talk about that. We've got some cool stuff coming up that I can come back to.
Yeah. So we're going to be partnering with the greenery and doing a what do we even call it? We're going to be minting some greenery exclusive PFPs that are going to be made by yours truly, myself. And they're all going to be custom. So we're actually going to sit down and figure out what this PFP is going to be. And again, there's a cap of 69 of them. So we're going to create and mint 69 of these pieces, and those are the 69 that are going to exist, right? So if they get traded from there, they get traded from there. But if you mint one of these, you're also, that, obviously says that you have, greenery OG status, or you can correct me on what the actual status within the greenery is, Pryzm. But with that, you also get OG status in this Discord, the AIRDROP Discord. And that is gonna give you some perks for what we're going to be doing next with the Discord specifically, right? We're going to spice up the Discord. We've got some really fun, really cool ideas that we want to execute on in this Discord. We're not announcing that right now, but just know that you will be much farther ahead if you get OG status on our Discord once we put all this stuff into the water, right? So who's getting it? Basically, the current active members on this Discord are going to be getting it. People who mint the PFP with the greenery are going to be getting it. And everyone who's listening right now to this happy hour is going to be getting it.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So congratulations, everyone. And yeah, I mean, did I miss anything? Fitz, Phosphorus, Pryzm, anything that I missed in that big spiel that I just gave?
Yeah, so I think that was awesome. So from from the standpoint of the greenery, this NFT is your membership pass. Without this NFT in your wallet, you don't have access to the greenery. The biggest benefit is being part of of this community, and also you're getting this personalized PFP, which is pretty badass. But then there's also other things that come on top of that. For instance, we are setting up, we have an alpha chat coming up here in the next 2 or 3 weeks with the engineering team of Hyro, where we can ask more technical questions about hyperchains. We have direct access to their team. We may get a chance to actually test hyperchains before they go live.
Wow, cool.
So these are the types of things that I'm working on getting our group. And then from an art standpoint, this pass will also be a mint pass. So as we have artists come in, or if we work on other collections, this will be your pass to get those. And what I'm also working on is, with new projects, how can we get this as a mint pass there as well? So let's just say marbling, the max mint is 5. If you have one of these in your wallet, you can get 6. So how do I engage with some of these projects to get us that? So I plan to get some other benefits as well. But yeah, that's essentially everything you'll get here. And as Rawion said, we're going to personalize these. So we're going to roll them out one by one. Longstreet, can't wait to see what you come up with. Firefly,
Yeah.
We've already had some ideas about what yours would look like. But they're going to be very, very cool.
Yeah, Fireflies was the first one that just jumped into my mind because I saw when we were first talking about it, your name came up and I was like, ooh, that could be cool. So I started messing with the idea already. But yeah, I'm really stoked. It's going to be a really fun project, and getting to interact with everyone that's a part of the greenery to put this thing together is just going to be so sick. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about the communities. I'm focused on a different type of community than AirDrop is, and I think that they will complement each other very well.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about people who are just heavily invested in the Stacks ecosystem, and that's, there's a couple artists in there, but there's a lot of big collectors within Stacks that are in that group, and we're focusing on new people coming in. We're trying to get artists to start putting out work, because artists just need to get in here and start cranking out work, start making something cool, talking to people, getting to know how to build their art business and their art brand, and just get to it, right? And so that's a bit of our hope with Create Every Day, is to get people hey, just get creating and let's talk about it. Let's encourage each other, and everyone that's in the greenery that's looking for good art that's coming through the ecosystem can keep an eye on that channel, because there's a lot of really awesome stuff happening in there, and we're just trying to make anything every single day. And it's already everything everyone is making is amazing, right? So I'm stoked to see how the partnership is going to continue to grow for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and if anyone here is interested, just add me and we can talk about it. Whoever's not in there.
Cool.
Gosh, thank you so much for everybody coming up. Pryzm, Obsidian, Longstreet. I really didn't contribute much to this conversation because it was over my head, which is why we have you guys. And I'm so happy because I do learn when you guys are talking. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I feel like a fly on the wall, and that's awesome. So thank you so much for coming to our happy hour. Hopefully Craig the bot recorded most of it. If not, Craig, you're fired. We'll find another bot. But thank you, everybody, and have a great day. And come create every day with us.
Yeah.
So much fun. Crypto Boy's been putting out some really sick shit.
Yeah, yes.
So you should come see it.
Well, I got one more question before
our
bot ends recording. Two questions. One, Pryzm, isn't there some giveaway we're waiting for in Nonish, or did I miss it?
Man, you called me out. Yeah.
Publicly.
Nice.
No, that was a rug. That was a rug.
Yeah.
No, I just need to do it. I need to put it all together. I keep putting it off. I'll do that today.
Okay, so second question. What do you guys think about a little West Coast Create Everyday meetup in Big Bear? I mean,
oh, dude, it's got to happen.
It would require you all to find some airfare, but if we plan this out, I think I could block it off early August for 3 nights in the middle of the week, kind of a thing.
Longstreet, we got to talk off the record, because I've got some thoughts. We can definitely talk about it.
All right. Well, everyone, look under your couch cushions for all the change to buy a plane ticket.
Get those points.
I would love to hang IRL with everyone. So
yes, for sure. All right, cool.
All right, thank you so much.
That was great. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.
Peace.
Adios.
Peace.
Adios. Cheers. That's a good one. I like cheers. All right. Cheers. Have a good one.
Cheers. Cheers,